Tom Barrett had to display leadership and display sympathy and display strength, too. That's not an easy thing to do. 4 tornadoes touched down in his district, mid-Michigan, March 14th, and left a path of carnage in their wake. The first one was at about 6:45 p.m. with winds at 80 miles per hour. He's on our AT&T line right now. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Michael Patrick. I appreciate the opportunity.
What did you see?
Yeah, so I toured on Friday, the morning after the storm, with Sheriff Brian Bagol and my colleague in the legislature, Representative Ben Frederick, who represents Shiawassee County in the State House. And we went around and visited a number of the damaged areas. And it was really devastating, the amount of destruction that was there. We are extremely grateful that there's been no loss of life, no serious injury. I spoke to a man who was home with his family, and his house was totally destroyed. And he said, the speed at which it came through their home was just devastating. And they made it out alive with no serious injury. And praise God, because it could have been a lot worse, just with all the destruction that we saw. We right now, the current estimates are about 19 homes completely destroyed, and probably in the upper 60s, maybe as high as 70, with pretty severe damage to them. So it's going to take some time to work through this, but one of the things that we saw that was really encouraging while we were out there, there's, of course, a lot of media, television, newspapers, and others, and they stopped us at one point to try and catch some commentary, and you almost couldn't hear what we were saying because there were so many chainsaws running around us of people helping one another, helping their neighbors chop down the debris that was in their yards or clear out, the tree branches and tree limbs and uprooted trees and everything else. And it was just a great showing of support for one another, just coming by to help each other out. And that was a really positive and encouraging thing to witness.
How do you do that personally as an elected official when, you're staring at, like you said, 70 homes damaged, 12 properties, total losses, someone who's standing there looking at bits and pieces of their life, their nests, their pictures, and all of that spread all over like flotsam and jetsam?
Yeah, it's not easy, but I will say that there was quite a bit of resiliency out there. People were just thankful that it wasn't worse, that no one was seriously injured or killed. There was a home that we stopped at that was probably the worst destruction that we saw, and it was an 86-year-old woman who lived there. She was home alone when the tornado ripped through her house. Her son lives very close by, saw what happened, gets in the car to drive up there. The house is leveled into the basement, and thankfully the one part of the home where she was sitting in her in the chair that she usually sits in, that room had basically collapsed into the basement at one end of it, and the roof, though, did not come down and crush her like it had been in most of the rest of the home. And she was able to get out without serious injury, which was just miraculous when you see the pictures of this particular home. It's just incredible to see. So we were very thankful. We stopped and spoke to her son, who pulled her out and made sure that they were having the support that they needed. We helped them pick up a few family valuables that were in there, and did the best we could to offer our support. Of course, it's not going to make them whole, and it's not going to rebuild their home. But in the moment, we tried to be as supportive and encouraging as we could. In a more formal sense, I suppose, Representative Frederick and I were on hand when the local emergency was declared Friday evening, and we're working closely with our partners in the governor's office to try and work through the state emergency declaration to help steer resources into the local community for the cleanup efforts that they're going to have.
How are you finding that process?
Well, it's something I've not had to go through before, so we're kind of familiarizing ourselves as we go along. I've had a very good working relationship and communication with the Michigan State Police, who are kind of the State Department that's tasked with reviewing these emergency declarations. They had liaisons in Shiawassee County on the ground during the whole emergency operation, up through the declaration and continuing through the entire weekend, and probably for several days more. And they're tasked with kind of assessing what the local resources availability are, and then where the state can come in and complement that. A lot of it, or I guess the most immediate need, is going to be, just the overtime and backfilling the resources of the first responders that came in, equipment to chip up a lot of the wood that's on the ground from the debris and the destruction from that.
Nobody thinks it can happen to them until it does. State Senator Tom Barrett, the Republican from Potterville, thank you very much. We'll keep in close touch, sir.